hear from His Excellency Dr. Justin Lee. Over to you, Dr. Justin Lee.
Right. Well, thank you very much for that introduction to you all. So thank you, Adrian, and thank you, Pat, for having me to start with. And also thanks to Paul and Fiona, my colleagues from the High Commission, for joining us as well. And I see that they'll have an opportunity to speak in a minute. But that was really a fabulous introduction to you all. Many places in Australia, many of your universities I've visited, and so bringing back lots of fond memories from different parts of Australia, including, I should say, Wagga Wagga. I think I might have mentioned this on a previous alumni call. Coming from Adelaide myself, and living in Canberra, I often drive through Wagga Wagga. So I know it's one of the more remote parts and one of our more remote universities, but really is a booming part of Australia there. And also Western Sydney University, you know, mentioning that that's a very small uni. That's probably one of the fastest growing campuses and one of the fastest growing parts of Australia there in Western Sydney. So, you know, just seeing such great representation from so many different universities in Australia is fabulous. Being from Adelaide, I'm a bit disappointed that University of Adelaide is not here tonight, but I see colleagues from University of South Australia are, so people that have been in South Australia are well represented as well. But really great to see you all and to hear your stories. I really do look forward to an opportunity to meet you all in person at some point. I think now that the MCO restrictions are lifting a little bit, we're starting to do a few things with reasonable numbers. I think we can have 50% of capacity. So, you know, around the 20 or so, 20 to 30 size numbers, we might start bringing together back here at my residence, which I hope many of you have already been to on previous occasions. But I do hope to be able to meet you all in person at some point in the future as well. A little bit about myself. I should say I have an uncle from Penang. His family name is Tay, who came out under the original Colombo plan. He married my auntie, who was a Malaysian doctor who moved to Adelaide. And so I've long seen the benefits and the close ties through Malaysia's long-standing engagement and long-standing interest in Australian education, both from that period in the 1950s of the Colombo plan right through to now with the 300,000 or so Malaysians who I understand have experienced education in Australia. I was also previously the High Commissioner in Bangladesh, as many of you might have seen, and I did know Ifti and Arman there, more well known as Ifti at that point in Bangladesh, and so Ifti, it's a great pleasure to see you again and to familiarise myself with yourself. And I think you might be down in Australia, unfortunately, at the moment, but really looking forward to catching up. And as Arman mentioned, we did lots of things with alumni and the education sector in Bangladesh as well. Having arrived here, I've now been here for 3 months in KL. It's great to be here. It's been a very busy 3 months. There have been lots of issues that have been going on. But just to give a bit of a sense of our priorities, I think it's very welcome that Australia and Malaysia have really elevated our close partnership between the two countries to a comprehensive strategic partnership. So that was agreed back by our Prime Ministers in the middle of COVID in January, and the fact that they could continue to do that despite the limitations really is fantastic. And it gives us a very strong framework to take our relationship to the next level. It's a big onus on all of us in the High Commission to now implement that and to take forward lots of different programs and activities to really flesh out that comprehensive strategic partnership. The sectors which I'm sure you've seen, science and innovation is a priority there, as well as economic cooperation and security and defence. And I think we're very interested under the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, beyond just the alumni engagement, but looking at how we can strengthen that science and innovation cooperation between our two countries. And I know many of you having academic backgrounds and working in universities and the like, and Fiona can talk more about this, but strengthening our research collaboration and strengthening our industry collaboration in some of those science and innovation areas will be very important to us. So we'll be open to lots of good ideas in the High Commission around how we can take forward really practical cooperation under the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. On the education sector, though, again, that also remains very important, and I'll let Fiona and Paul talk more about that. I know one of the really key issues, and probably all for yourselves as alumni as well, is when people can travel back to Australia, and when the current Malaysian students can travel back to Australia. We had Paul's team organised, and Fiona organised a very good Study in Australia event yesterday, where we talked a little bit about that, and we can talk further about that. But in short, as the vaccination rates come up in Australia, the federal government and the states are committed to reopening the borders. It'll be for people that are fully vaccinated and focusing on Australian citizens and permanent residents first, but then taking back international students as well is a high priority. New South Wales is probably most advanced in that. South Australia and Victoria hopefully not too far behind as well. And the numbers will probably be quite small towards the end of this year, but as we get the higher vaccination rates in Australia, we're hoping that next year the numbers can really start to increase for the international students. But that's something that's being worked upon. Just on the alumni issues, particularly, I'll be really interested in talking to your ideas about how we can engage with the High Commission and how we can support alumni activities. We really do value you all very much as people that have studied in Australia and have got an understanding of Australia, people that can be a bridge and a continuing bridge between our two countries and drawing on your expertise. I know it's a challenge to organise alumni events. Alumni communities, particularly probably here, are very large, and how can you be both inclusive to the different alumni communities, but also, I guess, useful to alumni as well, that in many cases, alumni, if they're engaging in events, want to do things that really improve their knowledge or improve their networks or their understanding. And I was very interested to hear those activities around mental health and cryptocurrencies and vaccines. That sounds like there's the sorts of activities that are being done that alumni do find very, very valuable. So very much interested in talking about those activities and how we might be able to support them going forward. So again, I think I'll probably leave it at that. I'll leave time for questions and for Paul and Fiona. But again, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to meeting you all in person in due course. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Justin Lee. Let us now move on to introduce Mr. Paul Sanda.
Thank you, Adrian and Pat. Can I just do a sound check, please? And I'm thinking that it might be appropriate if we hand it over to Fiona before my remarks, if that's okay with Fiona.
No problem.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Thanks very much for organising the meeting tonight and for inviting us. I won't say too many words, but I just wanted to echo what Justin said about how nice it is to see all of you here online tonight, and that we hope to see you in person soon. Alumni are such a valuable part of the Australian High Commission work and community, and we think it's really fantastic to have you out there representing all of the universities. It's really exciting to see all of you who have doctors in front of your name. Wonderful to see that you are undertaking higher research degrees in Australia. And as Justin mentioned, we're very keen to do more to encourage research collaboration between both Australia and Malaysia. And we're certainly seeing that that has been increasing in recent years, which is fantastic. You are all wonderful ambassadors for the education relationship between Australia and Malaysia. And as Justin was saying, I think we are getting closer to the point where we will be able to welcome Malaysian students and other international students back to Australia in larger numbers, hopefully under the New South Wales government plan and the Victorian government plan, and hopefully also South Australia. We will see some international students arriving in Australia this year, and that would be really, really nice to start welcoming them back. We know that it's been very difficult for the Malaysian students who came home to Malaysia, and also for those students who have stayed in Australia who haven't been able to visit their families here in Malaysia. We know that the Malaysian education attaché at the Malaysian consulate in Sydney does a fantastic job of keeping in touch with all of the Malaysian students in Sydney in particular, but we know that it's been very challenging for them too. So hopefully they will be able to travel between our two countries very soon. We look forward to speaking with you about what we can do together, and to seeing you in person very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fiona. Mr. Paul Sanda.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Pat, also for your efforts. Thank you, Justin, for those opening remarks. Certainly, can I just endorse with enthusiasm the sentiment that both Justin and Fiona have said in their words in terms of the importance of the alumni. So I've been with my current organisation for much longer than I will tell anyone on this call. And that goes to where and when I graduated. So I'm happy to tell you where, and that was Griffith University. So I'm very, very proud of my years at Griffith. And then I'm also a QUT graduate. And I've also done some subjects at the University of Newcastle. So pleased to see representatives of all of those distinguished institutions on the call this evening. The alumni and work around the alumni has been a really important and meaningful part of my career with the Australian Trade and Investment Commission. So I started my career with the Commission in Canberra for a year, but then quickly moved to Shanghai. After that, I did a posting in Beijing, and then I was posted to Central Europe for 4 years. Following that, I went back to Sydney, where I was manager of our media and communications for the Australian Trade and Investment Commission. Then I was lucky enough to be posted to Guangzhou for 4 years. I moved directly from Guangzhou to Kuala Lumpur, where I now have the privilege and honour of leading the team here for the next 4 years. And please rest assured that education will be an extremely important part of our work. I have on the call today, many of you will know her, Sri, our education manager, who is committed to improving even more than they already are, the important ties that we have across education between Malaysia and Australia. And you all well know much better than me the role that education can play in establishing those really strong people-to-people links, but also how you as representatives can push forward some of the really key initiatives that we would like to promote within education. Yes, it's really important that Malaysia and other international students access a higher education and education in Australia, either by being in Australia or by accessing those quality credentials online as well too, which is also an option. But within that, there is work across industry. So Sri has done a lot of work very recently in building links in the collaboration across cybersecurity, for example. There's work that we're doing to collaborate in advanced technology, smart manufacturing moving forward, which also have very, very strong educational, institutional and research linkages. So where the sort of rubber hits the road, apart from the qualifications and the quality education, is promoting more and greater collaboration in some of those industry areas. Just to let you all know that despite the challenges and despite despite the pandemic, in my area and my responsibilities, which involves obviously the two-way trade between Malaysia and Australia. It involves foreign direct investment from Malaysia to Australia. It also, as you well know, the promotion of Australia as a destination for international education and more links there. We also have a role in tourism policy and programs as well too, which is not readily understood. We don't promote Australia as a destination for tourism. That's Tourism Australia, but we do help grow and build the industry. And obviously there are strong links to tourism as well. And of course, Wagga Wagga being the new startup capital of Australia, there's work that we're doing actually with the City Council around startups, around the promotion of visitation to rural and regional areas of Australia, which is extremely important. So just to reassure you that despite the challenges, despite the pandemic, the interest in Malaysia as a destination by Australian businesses to do business here, to increase their exports or to collaborate on specific projects around advanced tech, around healthcare, around pharmaceuticals, but also interest from Malaysian firms in looking at Australia as a destination for investment, particularly in renewable energies, pharmaceuticals, clinical trials, all of those new, and healthcare, all of those new and interesting areas, areas of future collaboration are very, very strong. So not a day goes past where we don't get a serious inquiry from a Malaysian firm or from an Australian business wanting to collaborate, wanting to partner, wanting to look for commercial opportunities. And the alumni play a really important part in advocacy around those. So lastly, looking forward to talking to you all about where we can really make a difference. We've already made a difference, how we can build on that and look to the future, look where the future industries are, look where the future collaboration is. A really important part is getting our messaging right around Malaysia and Australia and where those commercial opportunities are for collaboration and partnership. And a big part of that is social media and advocacy and content. So I'm looking forward to working with you all about developing some really innovative content or looking to you to amplify some of the messages that we're putting out around social media to your networks as well too, which is a really important part of the advocacy work that the High Commission does around public diplomacy. A program at the moment that you should also all know about is Australia Now, which has a Malaysia focus. And if you haven't seen that or it's not on your radar, please do go to the website. It's really easy to find because there's some really exciting programs coming up, including some of the films and the programs around the cooking and collaboration around cuisine, but lots of other really exciting projects and events coming up. So tune into that. And please do share with your networks and share with your audiences so we can really get a broader message out there to all the communities. So thank you very much. It's been great to meet you all tonight. Really fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.